On a crisp autumn afternoon, October 21st, 2017, a small park bench in the heart of Seoul bore witness to a silent struggle. A young woman, her skin a stark contrast to the pale surroundings, huddled with her child, their only possessions a worn blanket and a flickering candle. What began as a desperate fight for survival, however, soon intertwined with the shadowed world of the city's most feared underworld figure. This is the story of how a chance encounter between a homeless mother and a ruthless mob boss irrevocably altered both their destinies. Before we delve into this incredible tale, please take a moment to subscribe, like this video, and share where you're watching from in the comments below. Anya, an African-American woman in her late 20s, navigated the unforgiving streets of Seoul with a quiet desperation that belied her once vibrant spirit. Her dreams of a prosperous life in South Korea, once so vivid and promising, had long since dissolved into the harsh reality of homelessness. Each sunrise brought a renewed, exhausting battle for survival, not just for herself, but for her daughter, Maya. Their days were a relentless cycle of scavenging for discarded food in alleyways, seeking refuge from the biting autumn winds in dimly lit stairwells, and constantly searching for a safe, albeit temporary place to rest their weary bodies. The city, with its glittering skyscrapers and bustling crowds, felt like a cruel mockery of the future she had envisioned. Her journey to Korea had begun with such fervent hope. A promising student in her home country, Anya had been drawn by the allure of new opportunities, a fresh start, and the vibrant culture she had only read about. She arrived with a scholarship that quickly fell through, a small savings that evaporated, and a trusting heart that, in retrospect, had been too naive. The specifics of her downfall remained a raw wound, a tale of betrayal and unforeseen hardship that she rarely allowed herself to revisit, focusing instead on the present, on Maya. Her initial optimism, once a blazing fire, had been reduced to a mere ember, flickering precariously against the cold winds of reality. Maya, a bright and curious 5-year-old, possessed an innocence that Anya strove to protect with every fiber of her being. The child, oblivious to the full extent of their plight, saw their existence as a grand adventure, a whimsical game of hide-and-seek with the world. Anya made every effort to shield Maya from the gnawing hunger, the pervasive cold, and the ever-present fear that haunted her own thoughts. She transformed discarded newspapers into impromptu textbooks, patiently teaching Maya basic Korean words and numbers, her soft voice a comforting lullaby against the city's cacophony. Maya's unwavering love and trust in her mother were Anya's most precious treasures, the fuel that kept her fragile hope alive. Their home was often a secluded park bench, strategically chosen for its proximity to a bustling commercial district, yet hidden enough to offer a semblance of privacy. From this vantage point, Anya observed the stark contrast between their destitution and the affluent lives unfolding around them. Flawlessly dressed individuals hurried past, their faces illuminated by the glow of expensive phones, their laughter echoing hollowly in Anya's ears. Each passing luxury car, each perfectly coiffed woman, served as a painful reminder of the chasm that separated their two worlds. The constant fear of discovery, of a social worker appearing to whisk Maya away, was a persistent ache in Anya's chest, a silent terror that eclipsed even the hunger. It was from this same park bench that Anya first truly noticed Lee Jin-woo. The notorious leader of the Black Dragon Syndicate, he passed by their temporary sanctuary with alarming regularity. He was always impeccably dressed, his dark suits tailored to perfection, exuding an aura of undeniable power and intimidation. Surrounded by a phalanx of silent, watchful bodyguards, he moved through the world like a shadow, commanding respect and fear in equal measure. Anya had seen him many times, a fleeting glimpse of his impassive face behind tinted car windows, or as he strode purposefully past, his presence a heavy weight in the air. He had never once acknowledged her, his gaze always fixed forward, as if she and Maya were simply part of the urban landscape, invisible and insignificant. She knew his reputation, the chilling whispers of his ruthlessness echoing in the hushed conversations of the city, tales of his syndicate's iron grip on the underworld. Despite the crushing despair, Anya maintained an inner strength, a fierce resolve fueled by her profound love for Maya. Her determination to provide Maya with a future, a life far removed from this park bench, was an unshakable anchor in her turbulent world. She saw the world through Maya's innocent eyes, trying to find moments of beauty even in their grim circumstances. The vibrant colors of autumn leaves, the playful antics of a stray cat, the distant glimmer of city lights that Maya mistook for stars. As the day drew to a close, Anya held Maya closer, her daughter's small body a fragile warmth against the encroaching chill. She watched Jinwoo's sleek black car disappear into the twilight, its taillights fading like distant embers. A lingering question hung in the cold air. Did he even see her? Or was she just another invisible shadow in his vast, powerful world? A sudden, sharp chill in the air, more biting than before, foreshadowed an approaching danger. A subtle shift in the wind that whispered of an unseen storm on the horizon. Lee Jin-woo's world was a stark, solitary landscape, painted in shades of gray and punctuated by flashes of brutal crimson. His reputation preceded him, a chilling symphony of whispers and fearful glances. He was the undisputed leader of the Black Dragon, a man whose word was law in the city's shadowed underbelly, his decisions carrying the weight of life and death. Yet, beneath the polished exterior and the impenetrable facade, Jinwoo carried a burden few could comprehend. The mantle of leadership was a heavy cloak woven with constant threats of betrayal, the ever-present danger of a rival's ambition, and the crushing responsibility for every soul under his command. His life was a gilded cage, opulent, yet devoid of genuine connection. He moved through his days with an almost mechanical precision, each action calculated, each interaction a strategic maneuver. There were no true confidants, no moments of unguarded vulnerability. He had long ago buried the softer parts of himself, a necessary sacrifice to survive and thrive in the brutal world he inhabited. A flicker of a forgotten memory, a buried emotion, occasionally surfaced, a ghost from a past he had painstakingly tried to erase. There was the image of a younger Jinwoo, before the weight of the syndicate had settled on his shoulders, before the loss that had hardened his heart into an unyielding stone. He remembered a time when laughter came easily, when hope was not a luxury but a birthright. A traumatic event, perhaps the sudden, violent loss of a loved one, had forged him into the man he was today, a ruthless leader who believed sentiment was a weakness to be exploited. He had built his empire on the ashes of his past, brick by painful brick, ensuring that no one would ever again have the power to inflict such pain upon him. Contrary to Anya's belief, Jinwoo had noticed her and the child. His eyes, though often impassive, missed little. He observed Anya teaching Maya, the quiet dignity in her struggle, the fierce protectiveness in her gaze. He saw the worn blanket, the flickering candle, the desperate attempts to shield her daughter from the biting cold. He noticed the way Anya's hands, though calloused, moved with a surprising tenderness as she traced letters on discarded newspaper, the quiet resilience etched into her weary face. It was a stark contrast to the weakness, the greed, the endless scheming he encountered daily in his own world. He saw a strength in her, a raw, untamed spirit that resonated with something deep within him, a part he thought long dead. The sight of the child, so innocent and bright-eyed, clinging to her mother, stirred an unfamiliar pang in his chest, a sensation he quickly suppressed. One particularly cold evening, as Anya and Maya huddled together on their bench, lost in the fading light, Jinwoo's sleek black car drew to a silent stop a short distance away. Anya's heart leaped into her throat, a familiar surge of fear mixed with a vague, undefined apprehension. Had they finally been discovered? Was this the end of their tenuous sanctuary? A formidable bodyguard, a silent sentinel of Jinwoo's empire, stepped out of the car. His face was impassive, his movements economical. Anya braced herself, clutching Maya tighter. ready to face whatever judgment was about to befall them. But the man simply approached, not with aggression, but with a strange, almost deferential air. He placed a steaming container of warm food and a thick, soft blanket on the ground near them, almost reverently, without uttering a single word. Then, as silently as he had appeared, he retreated, re-entering the black car, which then glided away into the night, leaving Anya stunned. Her initial suspicion was quickly replaced by an overwhelming wave of relief, followed by a dizzying confusion. Warm food? A blanket? Was this a trap? A cruel joke? Or a genuine act of kindness from the very man she feared most? Maya, oblivious to her mother's internal turmoil, let out a squeal of delight at the sight of the unexpected meal. Her simple gratitude, her small, innocent hands reaching for the warmth, melted Anya's hardened heart. The savory aroma of the food filled the cold air, a luxury they hadn't known in weeks. Jin-woo, hidden by the impenetrable tint of his car windows, observed the scene from a distance. A strange mix of emotions swirled within him: curiosity at Anya's reaction, a pang of empathy he rarely allowed himself to feel, and a flicker of satisfaction. He questioned his own actions, the unexpected impulse that had led to this gesture. It was illogical, uncharacteristic. Yet, as he watched the mother and child eat, a faint, almost imperceptible warmth spread through his cold, calculating heart. Anya tried desperately to rationalize the act. Perhaps it was a random act of charity from one of his subordinates. A mistake. But she couldn't shake the feeling that it was more than just random. The precision, the silence, the sheer unexpectedness of it all suggested a deliberate, calculated move. She wondered if the powerful man, the feared mob boss, had seen something in her, or in Maya, that had resonated with him, a flicker of humanity in his shadowed world. The incident left her with a glimmer of hope, a tiny ember in the vast darkness of their despair, but also a new unsettling awareness of his presence. His silent, unseen gaze now felt like a tangible force, a constant, watchful eye. The chill in the air seemed to deepen, not just from the weather, but from the unsettling knowledge that their lives had, however subtly, brushed against the edges of a dangerous, unknown world. As the days bled into weeks, the fragile promise of autumn gave way to the biting grip of early winter. Each morning brought a new layer of frost, a harsher wind, and a deeper chill that seeped into Anya's bones. The meager shelter offered by the park bench became increasingly untenable. Maya's small body, once resilient, now seemed to succumb to the relentless cold. A persistent cough began to rack her tiny frame, a dry, hacking sound that tore at Anya's heart. Then came the fever, a silent, insidious enemy that stole the sparkle from Maya's eyes and left her lethargic, her skin clammy to Anya's desperate touch. Panic, cold and sharp, began to claw at Anya's throat. She had faced hunger, cold, and indignity with a fierce, unwavering resolve, but Maya's illness stripped away her strength, leaving her feeling utterly helpless. She cradled her daughter, whispering reassurances she no longer believed, her mind racing, searching for an answer, a solution, anything. She had no one, absolutely no one to turn to. The few acquaintances she had made upon arriving in Seoul had long since vanished with her dwindling finances. Her family was a world away, unreachable. The desperation gnawed at her, pushing her towards thoughts she had sworn she would never entertain, measures she deemed beneath her dignity, but the feverish whimpers of her child silenced her pride. Meanwhile, Lee Jin-woo continued his nightly ritual. His sleek black car, a shadow among shadows, would glide past the park bench, his gaze, though unseen by Anya, fixed on their huddled forms. He had noticed the subtle, yet unmistakable decline in Maya's health. He saw Anya's increasing distress, the way her shoulders hunched even more, the frantic glances she cast around, like a cornered animal. A growing sense of unease, a A strange, persistent pull he couldn't quite explain stirred within him. It was an unfamiliar sensation, a quiet insistence that demanded his attention, a stark contrast to the calculated indifference he usually maintained. One particularly frigid night, the air so sharp it stung, Anya made a decision born of sheer raw desperation. As Jinwoo's car slowed, its tinted windows offering no glimpse of the man inside, Anya rose, her legs shaky, her resolve hardened by fear for Maya. She walked directly into the path of the vehicle, her arms outstretched, a silent plea. The car screeched to a halt, its powerful engine idling menacingly. Immediately, the bodyguards, hulking figures in dark suits, were out of the car, their hands instinctively moving towards their jackets, their eyes scanning for threats. Anya ignored them, her gaze fixed on the driver's side window. Her voice, when it came, was hoarse, raspy from the cold and the terror that gripped her. "Please," she choked out, the word barely a whisper, yet imbued with all the anguish of a mother on the brink. "My daughter. She's sick. She needs help." The bodyguards moved to intercept her, their expressions grim. But Jinwoo, from within the car, raised a hand, a silent command that froze them in place. The driver's side window hummed, slowly descending, revealing Jinwoo's face. It was impassive, unreadable, yet his eyes, dark and piercing, held a flicker of something Anya couldn't decipher. A tense silence hung in the air, broken only by the hum of the engine and Maya's faint, distressed cough from the blanket. Anya poured out her heart, explaining Maya's fever, her cough, her own utter helplessness. She spoke of her fear, her desperation, her voice cracking with every word. Jinwoo listened, his gaze unwavering. The silence stretched, heavy with unspoken weight, as he processed her plea. Then, after what felt like an eternity of intense contemplation, he spoke, his voice low, gravelly, and utterly devoid of emotion. "Get in the car," he commanded, not as a question, but as an undeniable order. "We will take her to a doctor." Anya was stunned, suspicious. This was the man she had feared, the ruthless mob boss, yet his offer was for help, for Maya. His face remained a mask, but the words were clear. He made it clear that this was not charity, not a random act of benevolence. "There will be a price," he added, his eyes narrowing slightly, "though it remains unspecified for now." Anya's internal struggle was fierce. Accepting help from a man she feared, a man shrouded in violence and mystery, felt like stepping into an abyss. She risked everything, her freedom, her very soul, by trusting him. But when she looked back at Maya, her small face pale and flushed with fever, her decision was made. There was no other option. She nodded, a single decisive movement. Her heart felt heavy, a cold stone in her chest, heavy with dread. But her eyes, though filled with apprehension, were fixed on Maya's pale, innocent face. The bodyguards, now surprisingly gentle, helped her and Maya into the luxurious back seat of the car. As the car pulled away, leaving the desolate park bench behind, Anya held Maya tightly. She cast one last glance back at their former home, a place of quiet despair, now receding into the night. A mix of overwhelming relief washed over her, mingled with a terror she couldn't articulate. She wondered what kind of world they were entering, what dark corners awaited them, and what Jinwoo truly expected from her in return for this unexpected, terrifying salvation. The journey into the unknown had just begun. The tinted windows of the sleek black car offered Anya glimpses of Seoul's glittering nightscape as they sped away from the park. Maya, nestled in her arms, had finally drifted into a fitful sleep, her small body still burning with fever. The luxury of the car was disorienting, a stark contrast to the biting cold and hard bench that had been their reality just moments before. They were driven not to a hospital, as Anya had initially presumed, but to a sprawling, high-walled compound on the outskirts of the city. It was a fortress, imposing and silent, guarded by men whose faces were as unyielding as the stone walls. Inside, they were led to an apartment that defied Anya's wildest imaginings of comfort. It was a space of breathtaking opulence, where plush carpets muffled every step and the air, infused with a subtle, calming fragrance, was perfectly warm. A team of medical professionals, summoned seemingly out of thin air, immediately attended to Maya. Anya watched, a silent sentinel, as they meticulously examined her daughter, administered medication, and tucked her into a bed softer than any Anya had ever known. Maya's fever began to recede, her breathing eased, and the color slowly returned to her cheeks. The relief that flooded Anya was so profound it almost buckled her knees. Yet, even amidst this overwhelming gratitude, a chilling realization began to settle in. This lavish sanctuary felt disturbingly like a gilded cage. She was free from the streets, but she was not free to leave. The doors were always locked, the windows sealed, and the silent, watchful figures outside her door were a constant reminder of her new reality. Jinwoo's visits were infrequent, almost ghost-like. He would appear, often late at night, his presence filling the room with an unspoken authority. He rarely spoke, his dark eyes observing Maya's recovery with an intensity that Anya found both unsettling and strangely reassuring. He provided for every conceivable need, from Maya's specialized diet to Anya's new wardrobe, clothes that were expensive but felt alien on her skin. Yet, he maintained an emotional distance, a wall of inscrutability that Anya couldn't penetrate. She struggled to comprehend his motives. Was this an elaborate trap? A display of power? Or was there a flicker of genuine kindness beneath the hardened exterior of the mob boss? One evening, Jinwoo finally broke his silence. He stood by the window, his back to Anya, staring out at the city lights. "The price," he began, his voice low, "is this." He turned, his gaze finally meeting hers. "You will educate her. Teach her English, history, the things I never had the chance to learn." Anya blinked, utterly bewildered. She had braced herself for demands of loyalty, for dangerous tasks, for anything but this. "Maya will have the best education," he continued, his voice now carrying a hint of a deeper emotion. "Something that cannot be bought with money alone." He spoke of a desire for Maya to have opportunities he was denied, a future unmarred by the shadows of his world. Anya was confused. Why would a man like him, a ruthless leader of a criminal empire, care so deeply about the education of a homeless child? It seemed a profound incongruity. As days turned into weeks, Anya began to witness glimpses of Jinwoo's true world. Hushed conversations in the hallways, the constant presence of intimidating men with cold eyes, the subtle hum of surveillance equipment. She heard fragments of phone calls, coded messages, and the occasional sharp, decisive command from Jinwoo that sent tremors through the compound. She realized the true power and danger of the man who had saved them. She was now deeply entwined with his life, a thread in the complex, perilous tapestry of the Black Dragon Syndicate. Her fear, though dulled by the comfort and safety, began to grow, a cold tendril coiling around her heart. Yet, amidst the fear, something unexpected began to bloom, an unusual bond between Jinwoo and Maya. He would often arrive during Maya's lessons, sitting quietly in a corner, observing Anya's patient teaching methods. He found himself drawn to Maya's innocent curiosity, her bright laughter, her unwavering trust. He saw a reflection of a lost part of himself in her, a purity that had long been extinguished in his own life. He began to spend more time with them, not as an observer, but as a participant. He would ask Maya about her lessons, his questions surprisingly gentle, and sometimes he would even offer a rare, almost imperceptible smile. Anya, ever observant, noticed the subtle changes in Jinwoo's demeanor around Maya. The way his shoulders seemed to relax, the softening in his eyes, the almost paternal protectiveness that now surrounded her daughter. It was more than the interest of a patron. It was something deeper, more personal. A deep, unsettling feeling began to gnaw at Anya. She started to suspect that Maya was more than just a random child he had chosen to help. There was a secret here, a hidden truth that Jinwoo was guarding, and Anya felt an undeniable, growing certainty that it involved Maya in a way she couldn't yet comprehend. Something was being hidden from her, and the thought filled her with a new kind of dread. Driven by her growing unease and the gnawing suspicion that Maya's connection to Jinwoo ran deeper than he let on, Anya began a subtle, almost imperceptible investigation of her opulent prison. While Maya was engrossed in her studies or playing in the meticulously kept garden, Anya would meticulously explore the apartment. She wasn't looking for escape routes, not yet, but for answers. Her sharp eyes scanned every detail, every forgotten corner. In an old, rarely opened desk drawer in the study, she found a collection of photographs, yellowed with age, tucked beneath a stack of financial ledgers. Most depicted stoic men in suits, clearly members of Jinwoo's syndicate, but one, in particular, caught her breath. It was a picture of a young woman, strikingly beautiful, with eyes that held an uncanny resemblance to Maya's. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she noticed the date on the back, marked in elegant Korean script, just a few years before Maya's birth. Further searching led her to a small, leather-bound diary, written in fluid Korean. Anya, despite her limited grasp of the language, could decipher enough to understand snippets of a tragic love story. The entries spoke of a forbidden romance, a passionate affair with a foreigner, and the despair of a family's disapproval. The woman in the photograph, the diary revealed, was Jinwoo's younger sister, Lee Minji. Minji, deeply rebellious and fiercely independent, had fallen in love outside the rigid confines of her brother's world, a world that would never accept a half-blood child. As Anya pieced together the fragments, a chilling realization dawned upon her, a revelation that both clarified Jinwoo's motives and deepened her sense of dread. Maya was not just a random child he had taken under his wing. Maya was Jinwoo's niece, the hidden offspring of his beloved, deceased sister and an unknown foreign father. The truth, when it fully settled, hit Anya with the force of a physical blow. Jinwoo had rescued them not out of random, inexplicable kindness, but because Maya was his blood, the last living link to his cherished sister. He had been searching for his sister's child, driven by a deep sense of familial duty, perhaps to protect her from the syndicate's enemies who might exploit her lineage, or to fulfill a solemn promise made to Minji before her untimely death. His gruff exterior, the calculated distance he maintained, the carefully constructed facade of indifference, all of it now made perfect, terrifying sense. Beneath the hardened shell of the mob boss lay a man burdened by grief and a fierce, almost primal desire to protect his only remaining family. Anya understood the true price now, the unspoken clause in their arrangement. Her presence, her foreign appearance, served as a perfect shield for Maya. Who would suspect that the child of a foreign, homeless woman was actually the niece of the most feared mob boss in Seoul? Her identity, her very existence, obscured Maya's true lineage from the prying eyes of rival syndicates, from those who would undoubtedly seek to exploit or harm Jinwoo's vulnerable heir. A wave of anger, hot and sharp, washed over her. She had been used, a pawn in a dangerous game, her desperate circumstances exploited for a purpose she hadn't understood. Yet, beneath the anger, a strange sense of purpose also began to solidify. She was not just a tutor, she was a protector, a guardian of a secret that could shatter the fragile peace they had found. With the diary clutched in her hand, Anya sought out Jinwoo. She found him in his study, engrossed in paperwork, the ever-present aroma of expensive tobacco in the air. Her voice, though trembling, held a newfound steel as she confronted him with her discovery. "Maya," she began, holding up the photograph of Minji, "is your sister's daughter, isn't she?" Jinwoo's head snapped up, his eyes, usually unreadable, now flashing with a mixture of surprise and something akin to a wounded animal's pain. He was initially guarded, his jaw tight, his gaze challenging. But as Anya pressed him, her questions laced with a palpable mix of fear and righteous anger, demanding to know the full truth, the dangers Maya faced, his resolve began to crack. Slowly, haltingly at first, then with a torrent of raw, suppressed emotion, Jinwoo revealed the complexities of his sister's past. He spoke of Minji's passionate, defiant spirit, her refusal to be bound by the syndicate's expectations. He recounted the heartbreaking circumstances of her death, a tragedy that had left him with a void he thought could never be filled. And then, he confessed his relentless search for her child, a search that had led him, miraculously, to Anya and Maya on that cold park bench. He explained the intricate web of threats that surrounded them, the rival factions who would stop at nothing to destabilize his power, and how Maya, as his sister's daughter, represented both his greatest vulnerability and his last hope. In that rare, unguarded moment, Jinwoo shed the impenetrable facade of the mob boss. Anya saw a glimpse of his vulnerability, his profound grief for his sister, his deep-seated fear for Maya's safety. He was not just a ruthless leader, but a man burdened by loss, by the crushing weight of responsibility, and by a love for a family he had almost lost entirely. He explained the lengths he had gone to protect Maya, even from the knowledge of his own organization, understanding that the fewer who knew her true identity, the safer she would be. Anya, for the first time, saw him not as a terrifying enigma, but as a complex, wounded man, struggling to navigate a brutal world while desperately clinging to the last vestiges of his humanity. Anya grappled with the weight of the revelation. Her world, already turned upside down, had been spun into an even more intricate and dangerous tapestry. She was no longer merely a tutor, a temporary fixture in this opulent cage. She was a protector, a guardian entrusted with a life far more precious and perilous than she could have ever imagined. The initial surge of anger at being unknowingly manipulated, at having her desperate plight used as a shield, slowly receded, replaced by a fierce primal maternal instinct. This wasn't about Jinwoo's schemes or the syndicate's power plays. This was about Maya, a child she had come to love as her own, a child whose very existence was now her unwavering responsibility. Anya realized with a chilling clarity that her own safety, her very survival, had become inextricably linked to Maya's, to their shared secret. Jinwoo, for his part, observed Anya with a newfound intensity. He saw the flicker of fear in her eyes, but also the unwavering resolve that quickly replaced it. He witnessed her genuine, unyielding care for Maya, a devotion that transcended their bizarre circumstances. It was then that a fragile seed of trust, one he rarely extended to anyone, began to sprout within him. He started to share more, peeling back layers of the intricate, brutal world he inhabited. He spoke of the rival factions, the volatile alliances, the constant, insidious threats that lurked in every shadow. He meticulously explained why Maya's existence had to remain a closely guarded secret, not just from the outside world, but from the vast majority of his own organization. The fewer who knew, the safer she would be, a sentiment Anya now understood with unsettling clarity. Anya, unexpectedly, found herself becoming his confidant, a role she never sought nor anticipated. She was a sounding board for his anxieties, a quiet presence to whom he could articulate the immense pressures of his leadership. She offered him a perspective he rarely encountered, a moral compass in a world where morality was often a forgotten luxury. Their relationship, born from desperation and deception, slowly began to shift. It was no longer simply that of a captor and his unwilling captive, but an unspoken alliance, forged in the crucible of shared vulnerability and a mutual unspoken dedication to Maya. As the days turned into weeks, a subtle but undeniable shift in the atmosphere around the compound began to manifest. Suspicious cars were spotted lingering too long at the perimeter. Unfamiliar faces appeared in places they shouldn't. The hushed conversations among Jinwoo's men grew more tense, their glances more wary. Jinwoo's rivals, it seemed, were closing in, sensing a weakness, searching for something, though they knew not what. A cold dread settled in Anya's stomach. She knew they were looking for Maya, or at least for whatever secret Jinwoo was so fiercely guarding. He confided in Anya his growing suspicion. Someone within his own ranks, someone close, was leaking information. The thought sent a shiver down her spine. Betrayal from within was the most insidious kind. Anya, with her sharp intellect and keen observational skills honed by years of navigating a hostile world, found herself noticing things that Jinwoo's hardened men, perhaps desensitized by routine, might miss. She pointed out inconsistencies in the patrol schedules, subtle changes in the guard rotations, a new delivery truck that seemed to visit too frequently. Small details, seemingly insignificant, but collectively they painted a disturbing picture. Jinwoo, initially surprised by her astuteness, quickly recognized her value. He saw that her unique perspective, unburdened by the syndicate's ingrained hierarchy and assumptions, provided an invaluable asset. She was more than just Maya's tutor. She was an extra pair of eyes, a fresh mind, a crucial component in their increasingly precarious defense. One evening, as the sun dipped below the Seoul skyline, painting the sky in fiery hues, Anya and Jinwoo stood together by the panoramic window of the apartment, looking out at the sprawling, silent city. The silence between them was heavy, laden with unspoken fears and resolutions. They both understood that an impending storm was brewing, threatening to engulf them all. The escalating danger was palpable, a suffocating presence that pressed in from every direction. Their lives, and more importantly, Maya's, hung precariously in the balance. Anya looked at the stoic man beside her, a man capable of chilling brutality, yet also profound tenderness, and made a silent vow. She would protect Maya, no matter the cost, no matter what it took. In that moment, she bound herself, body and soul, to Jinwoo's fate, accepting the dangerous path that lay ahead, for Maya's sake. The insidious web of betrayal began to unravel, exposing the venomous core at its center. Jinwoo, through a painstaking process of elimination and the strategic placement of false information, finally identified the viper in his own garden. Kwang, his second in command. The revelation was a gut punch, a betrayal of the deepest kind. Kwang was more than just a lieutenant. He was a contemporary, a man who had stood shoulder to shoulder with Jinwoo through countless skirmishes and blood pacts, a man he had once considered a brother. Yet, beneath the veneer of loyalty, a festering resentment had taken root. Kwang was driven by raw ambition, a hunger for power that overshadowed any bond of camaraderie. His bitterness was exacerbated by a long-held belief that Jinwoo had shown weakness in his failure to adequately protect his sister, Jin-hee, Maya's mother. Kwang viewed Jinwoo's grief and subsequent clandestine search for Maya as a fatal flaw, a vulnerability that could be exploited to seize control of the Black Dragon Syndicate. His ultimate goal was not just to usurp Jinwoo's position, but to utterly dismantle his authority by exposing Maya's existence to rival syndicates, knowing full well that such a revelation would destabilize Jinwoo's power base and plunge the organization into a brutal war for succession. With his target identified, Kwang meticulously set his trap. He orchestrated a seemingly urgent meeting with a fictional informant in a remote location, luring Jinwoo away from the compound under the guise of an imminent threat to their operations. His plan was cold and calculating. With Jinwoo absent, Anya and Maya would be left vulnerable. He intended to allow rival gangs, whom he had secretly tipped off, to snatch Maya. To cover his tracks and make the abduction appear as an external attack, Kwang meticulously arranged for a staged assault on the compound, designed to overwhelm the remaining security forces and create widespread chaos. Anya, however, was not easily deceived. Her heightened senses, sharpened by weeks of observation and a gnawing sense of unease, picked up on the subtle discrepancies in Kwang's demeanor and the sudden, uncharacteristic urgency of Jinwoo's departure. She noticed the way Kwang's eyes flickered too quickly, the tremor in his voice when he spoke of the informant, the almost imperceptible smirk that played on his lips. Her suspicion solidified into dreadful certainty when she overheard a hushed, coded phone call Kwang made from a secluded corner of the compound. Though she couldn't decipher every word, the tone, the furtive glances, and the specific names mentioned, combined with the earlier warnings from Jinwoo, allowed her to piece together the horrifying truth. Her heart dropped like a stone, a cold dread seizing her. They were in imminent danger, and Jinwoo was walking straight into a meticulously planned ambush. Panic, cold and sharp, threatened to consume her, but Anya forced it down. She tried desperately to warn Jinwoo, to reach him before it was too late, but her attempts to use the compound's internal communication system were met with dead air. Kwang had clearly anticipated this, cutting off all external lines. A terrifying realization dawned on her. There was no one else. She had to protect Maya herself. The compound's security, once an impenetrable fortress, was compromised. She heard the distant thud of heavy boots, the faint clatter of metal against stone, the muffled shouts of men. Intruders. They were already inside. As the sounds of the approaching invaders grew louder, a primal instinct surged through Anya. Rival gang members, alerted by Kwang's insidious machinations, stormed the compound, their faces grim, their movements precise. Anya, armed with nothing but her wits and a fierce, unwavering determination, prepared to defend Maya. She scooped up the terrified child, whispering reassurances, her eyes scanning their luxurious prison for an escape route. She remembered the subtle mental map she had been building of the compound's layout during her restless nights, tracing potential pathways, noting hidden stairwells and service corridors. Using this knowledge, she began to move, a silent shadow expertly evading the heavily armed attackers, her every step calculated, her breath held tight. In a moment of pure, desperate adrenaline, as they rounded a corner and came face to face with a hulking figure, Anya revealed an unforeseen skill. It wasn't a practiced martial art, but rather a raw, street-honed instinct for survival, perhaps a forgotten self-defense lesson from a lifetime ago, or simply the desperate strength of a mother cornered. With a guttural cry, she lashed out, her movement swift and unexpected, catching the attacker off guard. She managed to fend him off, stumbling back with Maya clutched tightly, surprising not only the intruder but herself. The brief, brutal encounter, though terrifying, ignited a primal strength within her, a realization that she was capable of more than she ever imagined. This was not just about survival. It was about fighting for the future of the one person who mattered most. Anya, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs, pulled Maya along, her small hand clutched tightly in her own. They moved like ghosts through the opulent corridors of Jinwoo's compound, the sounds of the escalating conflict echoing around them. Her mental map, meticulously constructed during her days of quiet observation, became their lifeline. She led Maya through a labyrinth of service passages she had discovered, past storage rooms filled with forgotten treasures, and down dimly lit stairwells that bypassed the main battlegrounds. Each step was a gamble, each shadow a potential threat. Anya's mind raced, calculating, assessing, always one step ahead of the heavily armed intruders who now swarmed the estate. She created small calculated diversions, overturning a strategically placed cart of cleaning supplies to send bottles clattering, activating a forgotten alarm in a distant wing. Anything to draw attention away from their desperate flight. Maya, though visibly terrified, remained remarkably quiet, her small body pressed against her mother's side, her unwavering trust a heavy, precious weight. She squeezed Anya's hand periodically, a silent reassurance that fueled Anya's fading strength. Miles away, the first tendrils of doubt had coiled around Jinwoo. Kwang's story, initially plausible, began to unravel under the weight of Jinwoo's own intuition and the nagging feeling that something was amiss at the compound. A quick, discreet call to a loyal contact confirmed his worst fears. The compound's perimeter had been breached, security compromised. Kwang's deception was laid bare, a betrayal so profound it threatened to shatter Jinwoo's carefully constructed world. His rage, usually a controlled, precise instrument, now surged with a raw, primal intensity. He barked orders to his remaining loyal men, turning his convoy around with a screech of tires, racing back towards the very place he had been lured away from. He found his guards overwhelmed, scattered, the compound a chaotic symphony of shouts, gunfire, and shattering glass. His eyes, usually cold and calculating, blazed with a fury that promised swift, brutal retribution. The betrayal, the audacity of Kwang, stung him deeply, but the thought of Anya and Maya vulnerable, unprotected, ignited a cold, absolute resolve within him. Amidst the swirling chaos, Jinwoo located Kwang. Their confrontation was not a mere fight. It was a deadly dance born of years of shared history, now poisoned by bitter treachery. Kwang, driven by ambition and a festering resentment, met Jinwoo's onslaught with a desperate ferocity. Fists flew, bodies collided, each blow carrying the weight of their fractured brotherhood. Jinwoo's raw power, honed by countless battles, combined with his lethal martial arts skills, was a terrifying spectacle. He moved with the precision of a predator, his every movement a testament to his ruthlessness. Yet beneath it all simmered a personal anguish, a sense of profound violation. Anya and Maya, having successfully evaded several groups of intruders, found themselves cornered in a dimly lit antechamber. The sounds of the battle outside were deafening, growing closer with each passing second. 3 hulking figures, rival gangsters with cruel smiles, blocked their only escape. Anya knew, with chilling certainty, that this was the end of their flight. Her eyes darted around, searching for any weapon, any advantage. There was nothing. With a desperate primal cry, she shoved Maya behind a heavy, antique chest, then launched herself forward, a human shield. One of the gangsters, caught off guard by her sudden, fearless charge, stumbled. Anya seized the moment, her hands finding a heavy, ornate vase on a nearby pedestal. She swung it with all her might, connecting with a sickening thud. The gangster crashed to the ground, unconscious. But her victory was short-lived. Another assailant, recovering quickly, lashed out with a heavy boot, catching Anya in the side. A searing pain exploded through her, and she gasped, crumpling to the floor. She felt a warm, sticky wetness spread across her side. Despite the pain, her eyes remained fixed on Maya, hidden behind the chest, her face pale with terror. Anya managed a weak, encouraging nod, creating a crucial opening for Maya to escape further into the shadows. It was then, a high-pitched, piercing sound that cut through the cacophony of violence. Maya, seeing her mother fall, her small world collapsing around her, let out a heart-wrenching scream. "Jinwoo! Mama!" Her innocent voice, filled with pure, unadulterated terror, reverberated through the compound, a stark contrast to the brutal symphony of the battle. The cry, sharp and clear, reached Jinwoo, igniting a fresh, incandescent fury within him. It was a catalyst, transforming his controlled rage into an unstoppable force. He saw in Kwang not just a traitor, but a direct threat to the fragile family he had unknowingly begun to build. Jinwoo, fueled by Maya's plea and the vivid image of Anya's sacrifice, unleashed his full, terrifying wrath. Kwang, already reeling, found himself facing an opponent transformed. Jinwoo's blows became more precise, more devastating. He moved with a speed and power that defied belief, his every action driven by an absolute, unwavering resolve to protect. His loyalty to Maya and Anya, once a fragile, nascent seed, blossomed into an unshakable, unbreakable bond. He vowed, in that moment of blood and chaos, to protect them at all costs. his earlier reservations about his own capacity for familial love completely obliterated. The tide of the battle, which had seemed so heavily against them, began to turn with Jinwoo's renewed, terrifying ferocity. The air crackled with a primal intensity as Jinwoo closed the distance between himself and Kwang, his eyes burning with an inferno that promised swift, merciless retribution. Kwang, though a formidable fighter in his own right, now faced a force of nature, a man stripped of all pretense, driven by an instinct far more potent than mere ambition. He staggered back, his face contorted in a mix of fear and defiance, attempting to parry Jinwoo's relentless assault. Every strike from Jinwoo carried the weight of betrayal, the agony of a broken trust, and the fierce, protective love for the innocent lives he now championed. The battle was no longer just about syndicate control. It was a visceral, bloody reckoning for the soul of the Black Dragon. Kwang, sensing his impending defeat, spat venomous words, his voice hoarse amidst the chaos. He attempted to claw back some semblance of control, to wound Jinwoo deeper than any physical blow could. She was weak, Jinwoo. Your sister. She brought shame to our name with that foreign bastard, and now you protect his child, another abomination. His words, laced with old resentments and a twisted sense of loyalty, were designed to shatter Jinwoo's focus, to remind him of the painful past he had tried so hard to bury. He spoke of Jinwoo's sister with a sneer, revealing details of her forbidden affair, details Jinwoo had long suppressed, trying to paint Maya as a living testament to weakness and dishonor. This was not merely a fight for power. It was an emotional battle for Jinwoo's soul, a brutal contest for the honor of his shattered family. But Jinwoo, though momentarily stung by the raw exposure of his deepest wounds, did not falter. Instead, Kwang's taunts only solidified his resolve. The shame, the anger, the grief he had carried for so long, transformed into a cold, precise fury. He saw not weakness in his sister's memory, but a tragic love, and in Maya, a precious legacy that deserved protection, not scorn. His movements became even more fluid, his strikes imbued with a newfound clarity of purpose. He would not allow Kwang to desecrate his sister's memory, nor would he let him endanger Maya. Meanwhile, Anya lay just a few yards away, her breath shallow, a crimson stain blooming on her side. The pain was a dull roar in her ears, threatening to drag her into unconsciousness, but her eyes, though heavy-lidded, remained locked on Maya. Her daughter, a tiny figure of pure terror, was hidden behind the shattered remains of a display cabinet, her small hands clasped over her mouth, watching the brutal ballet unfold. Anya's love for Maya was a fierce, burning ember, refusing to be extinguished, providing a last, desperate reserve of strength. She fought against the encroaching darkness, willing herself to stay awake, to be a beacon of reassurance for her daughter, even if only through a silent gaze. In a critical moment, as Kwang lunged with a desperate, wild strike, Jinwoo made a choice that would forever define him. He could have ended Kwang's life then, a final bloody act of vengeance. But the image of Maya's innocent, terrified face and Anya's wounded yet defiant eyes flashed in his mind. He chose not personal vengeance, but protection. Instead of a killing blow, he executed a complex disarming maneuver, twisting Kwang's arm with bone-shattering force, sending his opponent's weapon clattering across the marble floor. It was a strategic move, demonstrating not just brute strength, but a newfound wisdom and control. He used his strategic mind, not just brute force, to overcome Kwang, demonstrating his profound transformation. Kwang crumpled to the ground, defeated, his face contorted in agony and disbelief. His empire of lies and ambition crumbled around him. The remaining cronies, witnessing their leader's unequivocal downfall, their faces pale with fear, began to falter. The rival gangs, their plan foiled, their leader vanquished, realizing the Black Dragon was far from broken, began to retreat, melting away into the night as quickly as they had appeared. The compound, though scarred and chaotic, was finally silent, save for the ragged breaths of the survivors and the distant wail of sirens. The immediate danger had passed. Jin Woo, his face still etched with the intensity of battle, wasted no time. He rushed to Anya's side, his stoic facade finally cracking. His eyes, usually cold and unreadable, now conveyed a raw, desperate concern. He knelt beside her, his large hands surprisingly gentle as he assessed her wound. Maya, seeing the fighting cease, cautiously emerged from her hiding place. Her small legs carried her swiftly across the debris-strewn floor, straight into her mother's arms, burying her face in Anya's neck. In the midst of the chaos and destruction, a new, unbreakable bond was forged. Anya, Maya, and Jin Woo were no longer just a ruthless mob boss, an unknown mother, and a hidden child. They were a family, united by shared trauma, unwavering loyalty, and a profound, unspoken understanding. The climax of their ordeal ended with the quiet, profound realization that their lives were now, irrevocably, forever intertwined. Anya received urgent medical attention, the compound's private medical team working swiftly and efficiently under Jin Woo's watchful eye. He hovered nearby, a silent, imposing presence, his usual detached demeanor replaced by a palpable anxiety. He personally oversaw every detail of her treatment, from the sterile bandages to the precise dosage of medication, ensuring she had the best care available. The wound on her side, though deep, was not life-threatening, but her recovery would be slow, marked by days of pain and weakness. Jin Woo's concern was starkly evident, a tenderness he rarely allowed himself to show, surprising even the hardened medical staff who had served him for years. Maya, though physically unharmed, was deeply traumatized by the night's terror. The images of violence, the sounds of fighting, and the sight of her mother injured replayed in her young mind. Yet, in the quiet aftermath, she found immense comfort in Jin Woo's steady presence and Anya's gentle touch. Jin Woo, understanding the fragility of her spirit, dedicated himself to her healing. He spent more time with Maya, teaching her simple games, reading her stories, and patiently answering her endless questions. He embraced his role as her uncle with an unexpected tenderness, a fierce protectiveness that radiated from him. He began to actively search for ways to ensure Maya's future was not only safe, but also filled with joy and stability, far removed from the shadows of his past. Jin Woo himself underwent a profound change. The harrowing events had not only tested his leadership, but had also stripped away layers of his hardened exterior. The near loss of Anya and Maya had forced him to reevaluate his entire existence, his priorities shifting dramatically. The ruthless mob boss, once driven solely by power and control, now saw the profound value in protection and family. He began to dismantle some of the more brutal aspects of his syndicate, quietly but firmly steering his organization towards a more legitimate path. He understood now that true power lay not in fear, but in the unwavering loyalty born from care and respect. A lesson Anya and Maya had inadvertently taught him. Anya, now fully recovered from her injuries, made a conscious decision to stay. The choice was hers, freely given, no longer bound by circumstance or unspoken threats. She was no longer a captive, no longer merely a tutor, but an integral and respected part of their unique, unconventional family. Her intelligence and unwavering moral compass proved invaluable. She took on a more active role in Maya's upbringing, guiding her education with a gentle hand and a sharp mind. More surprisingly, she began to contribute to Jin Woo's evolving business, offering insights and perspectives that none of his seasoned advisors could. She became his trusted confidant, a voice of reason in a world that often lacked it. With Anya's encouragement, Jin Woo began to address the lingering shadows of his past. He sought to honor his sister's memory, not through vengeance, but through understanding. He delved into her life, seeking to comprehend her choices, her secret love, and the circumstances that led to Maya's existence. He realized that his sister's relationship, though shrouded in secrecy and ultimately tragic, had brought him Maya, a source of immense light and purpose in his otherwise bleak world. Her love, once seen as a weakness, was now understood as a profound act of courage that had ultimately led to his own awakening. Together, they started to build a new life, a true safe haven for Maya. The compound, though bearing the scars of the recent attack, was rebuilt with a new atmosphere, one infused with warmth and genuine security. The walls that once screamed of power and intimidation now whispered of home and sanctuary. Anya and Jinwoo shared a quiet understanding, a deep respect that had blossomed into something more profound and unspoken. It was a bond forged in fire, tempered by shared adversity, and strengthened by their mutual devotion to the bright, curious child who had brought them together. Their future, once uncertain and perilous, now held a promise of hope and a profound sense of belonging. Jinwoo, having embraced this profound shift in his priorities, worked tirelessly to legitimize his vast network of businesses, a monumental task that required immense strategic prowess and unwavering resolve. He systematically peeled away the layers of illegal activity, replacing them with transparent, ethically sound ventures. His influence, once wielded through fear and intimidation, now became a powerful force for good within the community. He invested heavily in local infrastructure, funded educational programs, and established social welfare initiatives, transforming his image from a feared mob boss to a respected, albeit still formidable, figure known for his unwavering commitment to justice and protection. This transformation was not merely a superficial rebranding. It was a deeply ingrained change, a testament to his evolution. Anya, empowered by Jinwoo's unwavering support and the stability she now possessed, began to pursue her own long-dormant dreams. The intellectual curiosity that had once driven her to excel in academia, even in the most desperate circumstances, found a new outlet. She dedicated herself to establishing a foundation aimed at providing educational opportunities for underprivileged children, particularly those from marginalized communities. Drawing from her own painful experiences, she understood the critical importance of access to knowledge and resources. Her foundation quickly became a beacon of hope, and Anya herself emerged as a powerful symbol of resilience and determination, inspiring countless others with her extraordinary journey from homelessness to humanitarian. Her story, once a whisper of despair, now resonated as a loud, clear testament to the human spirit's capacity for overcoming adversity. Maya, blossoming under their combined care and boundless affection, thrived. She grew into a bright, confident, and deeply loved child, her innocent spirit untouched by the shadows of her early life. Excelling in her studies and embracing every opportunity her new life offered, she absorbed the lessons of both her mother's resilience and her uncle's quiet strength. Maya was keenly aware of her unique family, of the unconventional path that had brought them together, but she felt profoundly secure and cherished, her future stretching before her, luminous and full of promise. She was the living embodiment of their shared triumph, a testament to the transformative power of love and commitment. The relationship between Anya and Jinwoo, forged in the crucible of danger and shared purpose, deepened into a profound partnership. It transcended conventional definitions, built on a bedrock of mutual respect, unwavering trust, and a quiet, undeniable love that had blossomed unexpectedly. It was a love born out of extraordinary circumstances, tested by fire, and strengthened by their shared devotion to Maya. They were an unconventional family, perhaps, but one fiercely loyal, bound by experiences that few could ever comprehend. Their connection was a powerful, silent force, a testament to the resilience of the human heart. While Jinwoo had made significant strides in legitimizing his empire, residual threats from his past lingered, like stubborn shadows. Old rivals, diminished but not entirely vanquished, occasionally tested his resolve. However, Jinwoo now confronted these challenges with a newfound wisdom and restraint, prioritizing strategic de-escalation over brute force. He protected his new family with an unwavering resolve, but also with a profound sense of peace that had been absent in his former life. By his side, Anya stood as an equal partner, her sharp intellect and moral compass guiding their shared journey, offering insights that often proved invaluable in navigating the complex landscape of his evolving world. Their story, once a secret whispered among a select few, slowly began to evolve into a quiet legend within the community. It became a tale of how love and the fierce bonds of family could fundamentally transform even the darkest of souls. It was a powerful testament to the extraordinary power of human connection, transcending conventional boundaries of race, class, and a past laden with violence. Their journey together served as a vivid reminder that even in the most unexpected corners of the world, a single act of kindness, a moment of unexpected empathy, could ignite a chain of events leading to profound, lasting change, not just for individuals, but for an entire community. Years later, the bustling streets of Seoul seemed to hum with a different energy, one woven with threads of progress and quiet transformation. Maya, no longer the small, vulnerable child of the park bench, had blossomed into a remarkable young woman. Her intelligence shone brightly, tempered by a deep well of compassion that had been carefully nurtured by the unconventional family she called her own. She pursued her dreams with an unwavering determination, her path leading her towards a career in international law, a field where she could champion justice and advocate for the vulnerable, much like her mother had unknowingly done for her. She embodied the very best of both Anya's fierce resilience and Jinwoo's quiet, protective strength, a living testament to the power of their intertwined destinies. Anya and Jinwoo, their hair now flecked with silver, remained steadfastly together, their bond having deepened into an enduring love that defied all expectations. Their love story, unconventional in its genesis and extraordinary in its journey, was a quiet, powerful force, a testament to their shared odyssey through darkness and into light. They had built a life together, rich with purpose, and anchored by the unwavering love for their family. Their home, once a gilded cage, had transformed into a sanctuary of warmth and understanding, a place where laughter echoed freely and support was an unspoken guarantee. Their connection was a rare and precious thing, a beacon of hope in a world often too quick to judge or dismiss. Under Jinwoo's continued leadership, the Black Dragon Syndicate, once a fearsome name whispered in the city's underbelly, had undergone a complete and utter metamorphosis. It was no longer a shadow organization, but a formidable legitimate enterprise, its vast resources now channeled into community development, ethical investments, and the protection of those who could not protect themselves. Jinwoo, once the ruthless mob boss, had meticulously crafted a legacy of positive change, a stark and inspiring contrast to the violent past that had once defined him. His transformation was a living paradox, a testament to the idea that even the most hardened hearts could find redemption and purpose. He had learned that true strength lay not in domination, but in upliftment, a lesson Maya and Anya had inadvertently taught him. Anya's educational initiatives, born from her own experiences of hardship and her unwavering belief in the power of knowledge, had flourished beyond her wildest dreams. The foundation she had established, dedicated to providing educational opportunities for underprivileged children, had grown into a respected institution, touching countless lives. She had become a revered leader, a powerful voice for the voiceless, her past as a homeless mother a distant memory, replaced by the profound and lasting impact of her present endeavors. Her journey was a beacon for those who felt lost, a living example of how resilience and compassion could reshape not only one's own destiny, but the destinies of entire communities. The core theme of family, in its most unconventional and beautiful form, remained central to their lives. They were a testament that family was not merely about blood ties, but about the unbreakable bonds of love, loyalty, and a shared purpose that transcended societal norms. Their extraordinary story inspired those around them, becoming a whispered legend of how redemption was always possible, even in the most unlikely of individuals, and how love could bridge the widest divides. They proved that a family, forged in the crucible of adversity, could emerge stronger, more resilient, and more loving than any traditional construct. The final image that lingered, a powerful echo of their incredible journey, was that of Anya, Jinwoo, and Maya, standing together, bathed in the soft glow of a Seoul sunset. Maya, tall and graceful, stood between them, her hands gently clasped in theirs. Jinwoo, his face softened by years of love and contentment, gazed at them with an expression of profound peace and gratitude. Anya, her eyes shining with wisdom and a quiet strength, held Maya's hand firmly, her gaze sweeping over the city that had once threatened to consume them, now a canvas for their triumphs. Their collective presence was a powerful symbol of their extraordinary journey, a testament to the idea that even in the darkest corners of existence, a single act of genuine kindness could spark a chain of events leading to the most profound and beautiful transformations, proving that hope, love, and family could truly conquer all. Their legacy was not just in what they had built, but in the enduring spirit of compassion and resilience they embodied, a beacon for all who dared to dream of a better world.